Doobie doobie doo. So the way that I do things is kind of like squiggly wiggly, because that's the kind of guy that I am. I'm a squiggly wiggly kind of guy with a.
You're squiggly wiggly. I forgot
I'm
my hot chocolate.
You did not.
I did.
Go get it quick.
I have some water bottle.
Quick, go get your hot chocolate. No one's watching.
David,
Oh,
I need hot chocolate.
this is already starting out badly. She had to run off and get some hot chocolate. What can I say? This is Pirate Mike. All ready for Friday with Friends. Now, normally I would have somebody here on the show with me, but Mo suddenly realized she'd forgotten hot chocolate, so she's run off. She's run off to get it. Oh, she's back. Hang on.
Damon is on it.
He is good.
He's fetching my chocolate.
So I'm glad you. So I especially wore this bandana, which is actually an old shirt back from a shirt that was falling apart, because I like bigger bandanas than smaller ones, and I don't carry it off. So I don't think. Do you think I? No, I don't think so. No.
It's harder for men to do the bandana thing, I think.
Gosh, now my hair's
if you have really long hair. My nephew has really long curly hair. And he wears like the thin, stretchy, and he kind of like this. He makes them.
Yeah, my daughter likes to wear those kind.
So you just need to grow your hair out.
Not happening. Not happening at all. Sorry. So we actually have 7 people. Oh, we got comments. I didn't. So Mo has been a terrible guest so far. He keeps running off, and I'm like, you got to come back. I've got to show you everything that's going on. Sorry. So on the right of, so you're going to get an instruction on how StreamYard works. On the right of your screen.
Hi, Alan.
Yeah, you'll see some of the comments from people, and I can pop those up. Look at that. See how I pop that up there? I need something to drink too.
I do have.
It's COVID time. Get whatever you need.
I just bought myself.
Hi, Janice. It's good to see you.
I'm trying to drink it without ruining my lipstick.
I don't have that problem. Funnily enough.
Oh,
you're going to squirt it out your nose. And Alan's a new friend as well. Alan's a great guy. He's so good.
So great.
He is. He's such a nice guy. I hadn't met him until recently on these some of these online things.
Yeah, have you met him in person? Because I've never met him in person. It's the same thing.
Yeah. No, I don't think so.
Did you meet Joe in Florida? He was there, but I don't think he was there for the whole thing. We met in Florida my very first time when I went, and we've just kind of stayed, Facebook. And he's just so sweet and positive. And
do you think?
Hi, Janice.
Do you think Janice is mooning us?
Obviously.
Janice, I thought you were above that.
How dare you? Oh my goodness.
This is a bad start for a good relationship.
we're off to the races.
We are. Things are good. I'm glad to hear that. You're in.
Yeah.
Alan's in Canada. That's right. Yeah.
We just passed through Kansas. Sorry, Alan. We were trucking just to get back to Montana, because I flew to North Carolina, and then my mom had bought an RV. So my daughter's Lucy.
She just bought one?
Yep. She just bought one.
Oh, I think I'll buy an RV today.
I know. I know.
Does it have the secret compartments underneath with all the spy tools and stuff?
It is a pretty awesome RV. It was so nice. It had these like slid out, had a washer and dryer. It has a washer and dryer. She's living in it. Joe, you're so nice. It has a washer and dryer and a little electric fireplace. So cool. So we drove with her back. So she's been staying parked here for a little while, and then she's gonna anyway. So, but we didn't get to see Alan. Oh, dear. That would change the rating of this live stream experience.
It would. It would no longer be PG-14. It would have to be
right now.
Well, it varies on who my guests are. When Reggie was on, it turned into an R-rated show. But Reggie's amazing. She's just freaking awesome. I love Reggie. She's amazing.
She was so great. That was so cool. I don't know when it went R. That must have been after I signed off.
But yeah, she was telling the story, and it was. Yeah, she dropped her You got a bird in there?
Sorry. Let me fetch my parrot. I was bringing over a stool, and it's a little sticky.
I've got this.
I keep a menagerie under my desk.
Yeah.
So she was so cool, and I've never met her either. And it's been really, the COVID thing's been terrible in so many ways, but in other ways, it's been really cool. Like, I've met people I never would have met otherwise, or it's like just expanded my storytelling universe really quickly. It's been really like people I feel like I know. Like, I feel like I know Ann Rutherford, and I've never met her, but I feel like we've seen each other at enough things that we could go to lunch and be friends, but she's probably
she's a hoot and holler. No, she's a hoot and holler. She's great. So I'd only kind of, I've met her at a few festivals in passing and stuff, and we'd sit and chat. And then at Timpanogos, we actually got to spend a lot of time together. And it was really good. It was a lot of fun. And now I'm in this cohort of storytellers, TBD.
Oh, I know. That is such a great group. You guys got such a great group.
I tell you, we did. I got lucky. Oh, I mean, it was not Jeff. Well, yeah, it was. We're doing this Liars concert. I shouldn't be talking about me and my stuff. I should be talking about you and your stuff. But we're doing this Liars concert. Maybe we just gone until midnight. I don't know. And we decided on Pants on Fire. Liar, Liar, Pants on Fire is going to be the name of the show, of the name of the two concerts that we're going to do. And so this weekend, my son and I are going to douse a pair of trousers, or I might go to, I might actually go to the local, we have a store in town which sells pretty much everything. I'm going to see if I can find the biggest tidy whities that I can find. Because pants in England are underpants, right? And so I'm going to do two different shots. But my son's very excited about some pyromania in the back garden, or on a playing field somewhere, or in a playground with the yellow tape around it. Stay out, COVID. We got flaming pants. Stay away.
Hope springs eternal. Yes. Burning pants.
Yes.
We couldn't do that in Montana because it would start a fire. The police would come if you were in a field. Right now we're high fire season. So.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. When it gets really bad, you can't even mow your lawn because when the grass is really dry and it's really hot, like a little spark could just. So we've had a pretty mild summer this year, though. And we've had a good amount of rain. So I think we might be okay in August. Sometimes it's been really bad. Like you just.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we get the news, on the East Coast, we do get the news of.
Yeah, but you can't smell it. I'm trying to paint.
No, we can't. Yeah. Well, my cousin, she lives out in Oregon, and they were right in line of the fires that were happening in Portland. And they left hoses on the roof of their house so that it was just keeping water on it. But it was, it's very real and very scary. And I don't think that many people on the East Coast realize how dangerous and how huge some of these fires can get.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We have a sprinkler system around our house. So I sort of am like, okay, if they make us evacuate, we'll just turn the sprinkler system on. So it's like spraying constantly.
Magic force field.
A perimeter around our house. And maybe that would mitigate some of the damage. And then where would we go? But we're kind of across the river from where so it would have to be a raging, just horrible fire. The closest we had one, it came in. So there's this big river. It's a reservoir by where we live. It's called the Kootenai. Whereas the reservoir is the Kookanusa, which here's a little fun fact. Oh, my chocolate.
Yay!
Thank you so much. Oh, it smells cinnamony.
You put a little sprinkle of cinnamon on it.
You're the best. Thanks, Damon. Look, and it says "See
Hi,
the
Damon.
good."
There you go.
Yeah. See the good. Oh,
See
I always
the
get
good.
things reversed. There we go.
Yeah, there you go.
That's nice.
Yeah, this is a real kind of camera, so everything is flipped backwards, so we see what the people see.
We see
instead of it's not a mirror image; it's a real image. If that can make. Oh, Mo, can you turn your mic up a bit?
I have it too far away, maybe. Because it's my fancy mic, so it's kind of far.
Well, you need to get it closer. You see how close mine is? People can hear me.
I have to move my computer. Just hold it. Whoa!
Jeez.
Sorry.
Now it works. Is that better, Dale? I think
That
Dale
was
just doesn't want to listen to me. He just wants to hear your dulcet tones.
I know. That is something
What Dale's really saying is, can you drown Simon out?
You know, dulcet tones is something that has never been used to describe my voice. That's for sure. Is that better, Dale?
Oh.
Is that better?
It was a bit scary,
Rachel?
wasn't it? Yeah, Rachel's with us too. This is really great.
What was scary when the things fell?
No, I think when you got close to it and you turned it up and all of a sudden you were very loud.
Sorry.
Either that or it was when I was like, people can hear really well. Maybe oh, I'm a bit loud. That's unusual. All right, is that better? See, everything sounds good in the headphones when we were doing the sound check.
Check. 1, 2.
Oh, there we go.
Is that better?
Yeah, I think so.
It's a little closer to me. It's just not in its cocoon anymore.
There you go. We got fast internet right now. Dale's right on it. Nice job. I love having our tech support team out there.
Thanks, Dale. That's nice.
It
if
is.
You're here, I'd let you have some hot chocolate.
That's Mo's pretend English accent, and it almost works well. What are those other words that you like to say, Mo? So I got to tell you, I got to tell all 11 of our listeners right now, or watchers, our viewers. When Mo and I met at the Florida Storytelling Festival, and one of the things that I do, if I know I'm performing with somebody at a festival, I get in touch with the people I'm working with just to like break the ice, so it's not a hard meet, as it were. And when Mo came, when Mo was at the so somebody else is having Mo is put the pizza in the oven. Dale is waiting for his to be delivered.
I just made pizza.
You did? What kind was it?
That I made?
Yeah.
Cheese. Just cheese pizza. I didn't have anything else to put on it.
Oh. We went to the local farmer's market. We got basil. That was like a bunch of roses.
I have so much basil. I'm going to start saying it like that.
You should. That's the proper way of saying it.
So much basil. I have a ton of it.
We had pesto tonight. You should have made pesto pizza.
Yes. Those are all good ideas. I was kind of in a rush because I had something.
Sorry.
Anyway.
Horrible. What were we talking? Oh, yeah. So I get to the Florida Storytelling Festival. And Mo gives me this list of, my kids are really into English stuff. Can you say these words in English for me? And I was like, okay. So this is like the first time we properly met, and I'm already being ordered around.
That is not the first time we met. It was like the second day.
It was.
And I said, please.
You did say please. And I did exactly what you asked. I recorded a little thing for you so you could.
No, you did even more than what I asked. Simon, this was when I knew you were so cool. No, your listeners, your fans deserve to know this. Simon because I was expecting, here's a list. They want to hear like a real, even though my accent is excellent. They want to hear a real British person besides Jim Dale, because they've heard,
Yeah, Jim Dale's accent.
Say biscuit and crisp and flat, all these things. And so I was like, if you could just read through the list, that's it. Well, Simon made up this whole story, or didn't make it up, but it was like, and then I was in my flat, and then I went, and then there were fairies, and I'm like, how cool is this guy? I just wanted it to be like flat, crisp, back to life.
I can't do that. Just make a list. That's boring.
I know.
It's boring.
That was so cool, though. And then it was on the podcast. Then you used it as with the Story podcast, which I love.
I did. That's right.
And you wove it into the theme show of one of the shows. So I
do like Easter eggs.
My girl, I'm like, this came from the list that I gave them for you.
The way I say garage or garage.
Garage. Yes.
Garage. We're a
And then
garage
I
band.
think if I went
We
to
come from.
England,
Sorry.
so one of the things I want to do, our 20th anniversary is in 2 years, and I want to do a bike tour of England with Damon, like a really long just bike all over England and Ireland. And
Just have one of those cat dispensers with food in for the kids.
yeah.
Leave them there in Montana.
Yeah, it'll be fine. I mean, Isaac will be 18, Lucy will be 15, Emma, they're fine. But I know that I would be this really annoying American because probably within 2.5 hours of landing, I would be speaking all the time in a British accent that's terrible. But I could not stop myself. I know I couldn't stop myself.
Mm-hmm. That's all right though. That's okay, because the English. We've had Americans coming over to our country doing silly things like that and being loud and obnoxious, and so when somebody comes over and tries to do an English accent, we just chuckle politely.
I know. What are other annoying things that Americans do when they go to England? Are we loud?
Yeah. It's you can be in a pub and the pub can be quite noisy, but you'll be like, oh, they're the Americans right there. But yeah, and I mean, in the 70s, they got a really bad rap because they came over with their golfing plaid trousers and all that kind of stuff. And we were just like, what are these people dressed as? It's like, what is going on? But yeah, I mean, I'm sure the British do the same sort of thing. We get all pompous and stuck up and stuff.
I don't know. When we were living in Virginia, there was a couple there. They were on a tour. They were in the Air Force. He was in the Air Force, and so they were stationed near DC for something. And Sarah's here.
She's always here.
I know.
No matter when I try to hold it. She's actually. I should put her on payroll. I should put her on payroll because Sarah is my little fact checker. She loves checking facts. So if I say something, she's like, actually, Simon, that's not quite right. Here are 5 resources to prove that. It's like, great, Sarah.
And these are the top 10 most annoying things that Americans do in England.
You don't have to get to that.
And they had these 2 children. And I love my country, but there's nothing. Oh my gosh, little tiny British children speaking, like they're just so adorable. They're just cuter. Like their little British accents are so cute. Anyway, so we were at and so her kids had never experienced an American Halloween, of course. They did Guy Fawkes, Penny for the Guy, that, and so I was like, oh, her mom and dad were coming over from England. And I said, oh, hi, Kim. And I said,
this is an honor to have Miss White Camp here. This is,
I'm nervous.
I'm very stoked right now. And yes, I'm nervous as well. Like, oh my gosh. Now we have to watch our P's and Q's, darling.
I need to go get my guitar. I'm going to strum it down for Kim. No, I don't play the guitar.
Oh, I tell you, there was what concert was it? I think it was the regional concert or something. There was something that Kim was telling stories in. And
it was wasn't it the Snake River?
It was the what?
The Snake River story?
No.
When she was in her camper?
No, but she was playing a guitar and she leaned in and told this Irish story. It was just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It kind of gave me a kick in the pants as to like, actually, we don't have to just be like this. And I started goofing around a lot with moving about and stuff.
I know.
So,
yeah, it was really good. I love it when she sings. That is one of my goals, is because I love to sing. And I do, and I wish I could figure out a better way. Hi, Pete. Oh. Damon always laughs at me when I do that. He's like, why do you do this? And I said, why don't you? Like, it's
it's a Wallace and Gromit thing. That's what it is.
Oh, is it?
Should we have cheese? Gromit.
See? I'm British. I do Wallace and Gromit stuff and I didn't even know it. Oh, anyway, do you want to hear about the Halloween?
Yes, I'll shut up now.
My British friends. So I said, hey, come over to my house. We're going to go around our neighborhood. I'm going to show you a real American Halloween. this is going to be awesome. I'm going to make apple pie. We'll play baseball. Like, it's going to
Is this in the middle of nowhere in Montana?
No, this was when I lived in Virginia. So we were in a neighborhood, like in a suburb of Washington, D.C. And so her mom and dad had flown over from England, and we put on a parade of America, right? So they bring over like little sacks, and for candy. I'm like, let me hook you up. Here's a pillowcase. Right? I give them each a pillowcase, and they're just like, and we go from door to door, and it's just, happy trick or treat. And they're just dumping candy, and the kids' eyes just get bigger and bigger. And they're like, I'm not doing anything. And they're just pouring candy into my pillowcase. And they were just like, I love America. This is so amazing. And then
they find 2/3 of it are those brown things. What are they called?
Tootsie Rolls?
Yes, Tootsie Rolls. Ah!
So, in my family, what we used to do is, now my kids aren't kind of into trick-or-treating as much, but when they would get a haul of candy, we would separate it into chocolate and fruity junk that's not even worth keeping. And we would pay them, we'd weigh it, and we would pay them so much per pound of the fruity junk candy. So they could get money. And then the chocolate candy we would make into a Halloween pie, which is basically a lot of butter and all of the different chocolate candies melted into a sauce and poured into a crust. So it's like Kit Kats and Twix and Tootsie Rolls and Snickers and all.
Oh, you don't put Tootsie Rolls in that?
No, actually, they have a nice binding quality. So they create a nice.
Yes, because it's made of putty.
Yes. And so when I had these friends over, and I had apple pie, and the kids were like eating so much candy and just wanting to immigrate to America for Halloween. I was asking my mom, I'm like, or her mom, I said, so how is it, have you seen, is America different than what you expect? Is it, what have you seen? And they had been to all the monuments, they'd been doing DC and everything. And she's like, well, I really wanted to see one of those people on Jerry Springer.
Walmart.
I probably offending people. Anyway, it was so funny. And I was like, that is a show we should not be exporting, because it's, I feel like if that's what she thought of America, like, But anyway,
we did get Starsky and Hutch, and we got Top Cat, and a lot of the Hanna Banana thing is Top Cat. You don't know Top Cat? You're so much younger than me.
And I lived in Panama. When I was a little girl, we lived in Panama. My dad was stationed down there. And we got a guy we didn't get TV, but a guy would come he'd tape shows in the States and then bring them down, and we could rent VHS recordings of TV shows. And we got General Hospital. Ooh, MacGyver. Sarah just said MacGyver. That's a good one.
She did.
But we got, so in the States, or in Panama, we got General Hospital and Greatest American Hero. Have you ever heard of that show?
No.
It only lasted one season.
For a reason?
I'm walking on it. I never thought
I know that song, though.
Oh, yeah. It is Hanna-Barbera, not Hanna.
I'm a bear of little brain. How come Sarah didn't pick up on that?
I was just like, Hanna-Barbera? I don't know that, but I didn't know Tomcats either, so.
Yeah, there was Snagglepuss. No, anyway, go on. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so we watched those shows when I was a kid. That's all I knew of American TV, because we moved to Panama when I was like 9 months old. And so, and then we lived there until I was 5 or 6. And so that was like my American experience was Greatest American Hero and General Hospital and Sound of Music. I watched Sound of Music every day religiously.
That's a good one. Sound of Music's really good. We watched that. We probably see it once a year.
Oh, I would come home from kindergarten every day and watch Sound of Music, and then I'd fall asleep after for like my afternoon nap. Like I feel like Julie Andrews is my nanny.
Yeah.
And people have, when I've sung or performed, I've been very kind. Some people have said, your voice reminds me of Julie Andrews. And I'm like, that's because she taught me to sing. Like
Oh, there you go.
Oh, it looks like Sarah put a YouTube link. I bet that is to Greatest American Hero.
We'll let other people find that on the side on
Yeah,
Facebook.
these really curly hair. Then we moved to the States and we realized that we were like 6 months behind in General Hospital. And all of these things had happened.
And you couldn't binge watch back then, right?
No.
You couldn't catch
with
up.
soap operas, you can catch up in like.
Yeah, well, that's true. Sarah and her mom used to watch As the World Turns.
Oh.
That was their thing as you know, growing up, kind of. That was what she remembered.
Damon's grandma was Young and the Restless. But for me it was.
Oh, Sarah got the theme tune for Top Cat. Yes, that's what that link is. Yay!
Have you ever heard of the show Manimal?
I might have, but it rings a bell, but I have no idea what it is. Tell me. Tell everyone.
This is Damon might like it. This is an embarrassing story for Damon. So
okay, another one.
So there's this show, and it also like was just a 1-season wonder, and it was about this superhero that could turn into any animal. So he was Manimal, right? And so my husband Damon was like 10 when this show was popular, but not really, I guess.
You weren't married then, though, were you?
What?
You weren't married then, though, were you?
No.
Okay.
No. He's just told me this since.
Okay. Just checking.
And so every night, he'd kneel by his bed and he'd say his prayers, and he would, his mom or dad was there, and so he would say them out loud, bless so and so, and bless so and so, and then he'd say amen. And he said for a solid year, after he would say amen, in his mind he would say, and please turn me into Manimal. Amen. And please turn me into Manimal.
See, I wanted to be Sean Connery from when he was in his James Bond role. That was my childhood fantasy. I wanted to be Sean Connery as James Bond.
Can I hear your best Sean Connery impression?
No. No.
Fine.
So what did your dad do if you were moving around all over the place?
He was in the Army.
Oh.
He taught at the School of the Americas down in Panama. So he wasn't in Special Forces, but he was like a language consultant for the Special Forces. So we lived in Panama for 5 years, and he was training Panamanian leadership, Army leadership and stuff. And then we came back to the States and he was training. So we didn't move around a lot. Once we got back from Panama, we didn't really move much. He would just be gone for months at a time, doing stuff that we couldn't know.
Yeah, right. Oh my gosh.
I think we go down to Ecuador and El Salvador and those places a lot.
Yeah, it's amazing some of these. Sorry?
My sisters moved more than I did, but by the time I came, we were pretty stationary, which is rare in the Army.
Yeah. So I'm assuming that your sisters are older than you then?
Yes, I'm the baby. I have 2 older sisters.
That makes total sense.
I know. It really does. When you look at the birth order things, it's like, oh, yep.
I know. I'm the oldest in my family, and it's yeah. Anyway.
How many siblings do you have?
Well, I have from my mum's first marriage. There's me and my brother Colin. He's brilliant. I love my brother Colin. He's a rock. He's just great. And then from my dad's second family, I have a half brother and a half sister, which I kind of joke about that say together they make a whole human being. but actually, well, no, my baby brother, my half brother, he's a good kid. He's a great guy. And he's finding his place in the world now, which is awesome. But my sister, who is the youngest of all of us, she is brighter than all 3 of us boys put together. She's amazing. She's a chiropractor, and she takes it very seriously. She looks at the whole body, and she's not a crack doctor, She actually says, well, what's going on is this, and which means that we have to adjust this, which will adjust that, which will then affect this. So she gets down to the real core root of the issue, which is really cool.
And are they all in England, or does anyone else live in the States?
So the family that I have, so my grandfather, he came over to the States when he was 20. And he had an Irish wife called Maud. Was that your stomach?
No. That's a personal question. It's that huge new dog.
Do you need some of that pizza?
This dog we have, he's so enormous. He's so huge.
Yeah.
His bark is just like, well,
a wall shaker.
Those doors.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. That's all right. That's okay.
Came here.
Yeah, he came to the States when he was 20. Went up to Canada. He was a cowboy and a farmer. His first wife, Molly, they had 2 kids who were born on a farm in Wales. And Molly got TB, and so they came back to the UK so she could die with family. And my grandfather remarried, and I'm a result of that part of the family. But I have 2 cousins. I have 5 cousins. How many do I have? 4 cousins. I have 4 cousins that live in the States. Brian and Bruce, who are twins, and the story of their childhood at school was, I'm not very good at math, but you are. You take my exam. Okay, I'm not very good at English. You take my exam. Brilliant. So they aced high school because nobody could tell the difference.
Wow, that's so cool.
It is, and they are smart. And my uncle, he was. So my aunts, they married Americans and came over to the States, and so I have this family over here. My aunts have.
Sorry for all of this.
It's all right.
Let me close this door. Sorry.
You need some duct tape?
He would eat it. Like, eat it, not chew on it. Like.
Oh, really? Oh my gosh, that's not good.
Have you seen the movie Marley and Me?
No, I haven't. It just looks a little bit too Hallmarkish for me.
Oh, it made me cry.
Yeah, that too. I heard about the book and I was like, yeah, don't need to read that. I read The Fox and the Hound when I was a kid, and that was it. I'm good. I actually worked with someone who, because I have the book still from my childhood, and I would pull it out, and she'd be like, "Put that book away." She'd start like tearing up just thinking about it. I'd be like, sneak up behind her and, no, stop putting it away.
That's how we are with like Where the Red Fern Grows and Old Yeller.
I need to read that. I do need to read that. I want to read that.
Oh, yeah. Where the Red Fern Grows it's so good. And it's really well written. Old Yeller is also great, but Where the Red Fern Grows is like a better written book. Like in the beginning, and he describes his relationship with these hounds and how he worked to earn them, and then the training process was so. Old Yeller is just kind of this old dog showed up, and it's a really fun story. But
I think I've read Old Yeller a long time ago.
So beautifully, and you just fall in love with Annie, with that was Little Anne, and I just went blank. What's the name of the other dog? Oh, that's embarrassing.
Spot, Rover.
Spot. I'm sure maybe one of our viewers will.
Sarah's on it. She'll let us know. Sarah's brilliant. I love Sarah. I love having her here. Yeah. It's great.
I just remembered Old Dan and Little Anne.
Dan and Anne. How can you forget that?
I don't know. It's pressure. It's this light.
It is
pressure, and
I know.
I need more chocolate.
I know, I should have brought some chocolate down with me. I knew you have water. I was going to have a glass of cider tonight. And I said to my son, go and get me a bottle of cider from the fridge, please. And he comes back and he's like, there isn't any. Like, oh, okay. Yeah.
What kind of son is he? Should go get
he's a great son, actually. He's freaking awesome. So when I started touring, libraries and schools and whatnot, I was a stay-at-home dad, and so he was my little roadie, and he would, when he was old enough, he would help me carry my gear in, And then he'd help set up all the postcards and the CDs and stuff before a gig started. But by the time he was 12, he was like, quit. I've had enough.
The other day, I ran a story by my girls. Oh, Sarah, repress the names.
Yeah, right.
Oh, Rachel, the librarian will thank you. It's embarrassing. I was a librarian and then I forgot Dan and Annie's name. It's terrible. I'll take Sarah's story. I'm going to repress it too. I knew it. I just
it was so emotional, so emotionally scarring.
An emotional box, and it took a while. I was just saying. Oh, I was practicing this new story that I'm working on. I ran it by the girls, Lucy and Emma, and it was really rough. I'm like, and then this, and then they gave me some feedback and stuff. And then I went and wrote up a rough draft, and I was like, hey, do you want to hear it now that I've got the whole like story roughed out? And Lucy was like, no, thanks. So I had to go and tell it to my chickens. And so
there you go.
I went out.
Are they good listeners?
They seemed a little distracted. That's good. We have 20.
You can't see me scratching my feet.
I know. They really do look like velociraptors when they're out.
They do, because they lift their legs up. They're kind of like.
Yeah, and they run. They're so funny. I go out most nights. I try to feed them out of my hand. We have 2 pigs and 23 chickens.
How many lambs and how many cows?
No cows. We used to have milking goats. We milked them and made lotion and sold it at the farmer's market, which was fun. But
and then you killed them and ate them?
No, we didn't kill the goats. We just milked them. But yeah, we have killed and eaten. But I am not eating them, but my family does eat them.
Yeah.
So
I was in a band and oh, Scott, he's my good buddy Scott.
Hi,
he
Scott.
Says, do you have names for them all?
I can make some up right now if you'd like.
So I was in this band.
There are 2 that are named Muriel because the girls have named them Muriel, but we got a lot of different breeds, and there are 2 that they can't tell the difference. Like one of those 2 is Muriel, so we just name them both. We just call them both Muriel. So there are 2 that are Muriel.
There you go.
And we have 1 rooster that slipped in. We ordered all hens, but we have 1 rooster whose lifespan is getting shorter with each crow.
Yes.
Yes. No, we never made ice cream. Damon drank the milk. He made kefir out of it.
Ooh, I've heard that's really good. I've never tried it.
It was really good for him. Like it like he had all these gut problems and he started drinking this raw goat milk kefir. I don't even know what's in it, but he would drink it and it wasn't super pleasant, but he started feeling so much better. But it's really difficult to milk. Like it changes the whole rhythm of your life when you have to milk an animal twice a day. Like,
oh, I bet.
The kids, Isaac hated it. Going out to milk her. And Lucy and Emma were pretty good sports about it, but they, you can't like traveling or going anywhere. You have to find somebody. It's not just like feeding the dogs. It's, oh, can you milk the goats? And
come over at 4 in the morning and 4 at night and milk the goats.
But I felt very like all of my Anne of Green Gables and my farming pastoral dreams were coming true. You know, I just need to, on days where I would have a skirt, I was like, this is my dream. Like I'm a pioneer out milking my goat in my bandana and my skirt. Like, the hills are alive.
Can you give us a rendition of the Lonely Goat Herd?
High on a hill was a lonely goat. That's right. Yep.
You have to wash the buckets?
Yeah, you have to wash.
Of course you do.
Really well.
Because of bacteria and stuff?
Huh?
Because of bacteria, yeah.
Especially if you're gonna drink it and stuff. And we got it down to the
unless it's somebody like you don't want to have around for much longer.
That's right. Yeah, have some goat milk.
Yes, it's very good for your gut.
A few times, and we made cheese. That was really good.
Yeah, I do like goat's cheese.
I love goat cheese. We were eating it on everything, but it got to the point where she was kind of drying up, and we'd have to, and so we'd milk her, and we'd just get like half a cup or a cup, and so we were at this crossroads of we need to either get a buck or take her somewhere to be serviced, as they call it.
Is that a euphemism for slaughtered?
No, it's a euphemism for getting pregnant.
Oh, okay, that kind of servicing. All right. Well, I don't know. She's drying up. It's like we've had our you're useless now. We're gonna kill you and
the euphemism
for
Richard is processed. That's what people say. Being processed.
You'll be processed into a can of squeezed cheese.
That's
sorry, it's late.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, Janice is berating me so.
No, since our so this is
I'm a
the
city boy.
Third set of pigs we've had. And my daughter's raising them. She's mostly in charge of them. They're for 4-H, so she's auctioning them off. But
pigs are incredible.
Simon's totally into killing us.
I'm not. I'm a vegetarian. I'll have you know.
I've been a vegetarian. I wanted to.
Well, more than half my life now, so a long time. Actually, I came over to the States, I visited the States to see my family, and Doctor Who. Steady there. You're on sacred ground here.
I've never seen Doctor Who.
Oh, Doctor Who's brilliant.
I feel overwhelmed by Doctor Who because I feel like so many people, it's been around for like 75 years or something. And I feel like I would need to start at the very beginning.
Well, not really.
I feel like that's just too big of a project for me to take on.
Yeah.
Have there been like 15 different doctors?
Oh, more than that.
Yeah.
I think there's 19. So you could start off with what's his name? Christopher. Can't think of his name now. But when they rebooted it, basically, you could start from there. But I grew up with my first doctor was John Pertwee, who went on to play Wurzel Gummidge of all things after playing Doctor Who. You can look these things up afterwards. Chris Eccleston. That's right. Thank you, Janice. Eggleston or Eccleston? I don't know. Ooh. One or the other.
What was the name again that he went on to be?
Wurzel Gummidge. He was a scarecrow. And he was taught in a funny Somerset accent like this. And he had hang on, where's my hat?
You guys have the coolest names. We don't have any names that cool.
Well, that's a made-up name, dear.
I know, but we don't even make up names that cool.
No, all right.
Wurzel Gummidge.
And then it is a great name. It was a fun show for a while too. And then after John Pert, we had Tom Baker, and I hated it when Tom Baker became the Doctor. But then I actually started to like him a lot. And so those were my two main doctors. And then can't remember who came in after them, but I watched a few episodes, and by then I was kind of like it's not my thing anymore.
And it's a female doctor right now, right?
It is, and she's so good. Yes. People wanted Tilda Swanson to become the Doctor, which would have been Swinton. Thank you. Eccleston, Swinton.
She is so unique.
She is like this. She's like an alien come down to the planet to observe us and show us. She's freaking amazing.
She is. She's really an interesting looking person. And she's a cool actress too.
So I want to go back to that story that you've been working on.
Oh, okay. You want to hear about it?
Yeah.
So I read here. Let me get the book. I found this cool book in the.
Yes, I do like that book.
The Storyteller, and it was calling to me, "Buy me." And
hang on. One moment. I have first dibs on that. Everyone else. Before you start asking, I have first dibs. When I first saw that book when she put it up on Facebook, I was like, oh.
I wanted.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why he invited me to come be his Friday friend.
It's not true.
But I wish you could smell it through the camera. That smell. Oh, it's like that musty old book smell. Oh, it's so great. Anyway, so it's called Blanche and Rosalinda. Oh, Rachel has it.
She does, Rachel.
And so I read it, and it's not a exciting story, but and so it's two sisters, Blanche, who's very pale, and Rosalinda, who's very rosy. The author is the Young Folks Library.
Yes, one of those.
Thomas Bailey Aldrich is the editor-in-chief.
Tim Lowry's just joined us. Hey, Tim.
Yay. Hi, Tim. How are you?
He's another excellent human being.
He is an excellent human being. He was very first storytelling festival I ever went to in Florida, and Tim Lowry performed, and it was like so Laura Sims was the first storyteller I ever saw. And then I learned about the Florida Storytelling Festival from the Jonesboro. She was the teller in residence. And so then my mom and I met up in Florida. And so it was my first festival. And Tim was performing, and Lynn Ford was there. And it was just this wonderful. And I went to this great workshop with Tim. And I performed at the open mic. And then the next year, I think I got invited I was one of the showcase ones before the main lineup for the next 2 years. And then last year was when they asked me to be the featured. So Florida is sort of like where I kind of cut my teeth and like really started to believe that I could be a storyteller. And I saw storytellers and realized, yeah, that is what I'm doing. And this is what I want to do. And anyway, so Florida is just so special to me for that reason.
So to backpedal a bit, you are a storyteller. You always were a storyteller. You were merely validated in those places.
Well, I don't know if I've told you this, but I was so scared the first time I was going to see Laura, because I had just sort of started storytelling. I told stories to my kids, they would give me 3 animals and a problem, and I would make up a story. And Isaac had this voracious appetite for stories. And I had this maybe sounds a little too silly, or no, I don't know, it's silly, but what it is I had this dream, because I was a theater major in college. And
what major, sorry?
What?
A what major?
Theater.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Actress. But it was really difficult to, I have 3 little kids and finding time to perform. And I was very particular on my content. And so I wasn't acting. And one night I had this dream, and I was on a stage, and I was just, it was just me and this little stage. And I was like telling about a play. I was like, just telling them the story of a play. And I woke up and I was like, I could do that. I could just like tell people stories and like tell a story all by myself and be the characters like all by myself and just tell it. And so I started getting this idea of Miss Mo, and I came up with this little chant, and then I found out that I hadn't really invented storytelling.
Isn't that a shock?
Other people were already doing it. And so I went and saw
a lot of them.
and it was I was really scared, because I thought, what if I'm not really a storyteller and she does something and I'm going to be like, oh, I'm not doing that. I'm not really a storyteller. And then I saw her perform. And while obviously I had so far to go, I realized that felt familiar to me. It was like something in what she was doing that felt like what I was doing. And so I realized, yeah, like I'm a storyteller. That's what I'm on the right track. And then I went to Florida. Anyway, that was a sidetrack from the book.
So Janice did Janice did ask for the title and the publisher.
Yes.
And then she wrote later on, Young Folks Library 01, The Storyteller by Charles Eliot. So is it by Charles Eliot?
It just says Young Folks Library. It says the copyright is by Charles E. Knapp, Knapp. That's who did the copyright. It doesn't have one author. It says Thomas Bailey Aldrich was the editor-in-chief. And it has these cool pictures in the front. David Blakeman owned it at one point. But now he doesn't.
Do you pencil your name in underneath other people's name who of people that had that book?
I don't know. I don't always. I usually do write my name in books. But I want some of these. I'm jealous of these cool book stickers. Those are cool.
Yeah. Maybe you should get some Miss Mo stickers done.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. But this story was, it's kind of the typical story. Like one sister is really content with her lot, and the other sister is sort of always looking to the next thing. And she's Blanche, and she's pale, and then Rosalind's really rosy, Rosalinda. And then a little old lady comes by and says, you're both going to get your wish, and one of you will be a queen, and one of you will be a farmer's wife, and you'll each get what you want. And so Blanche becomes a queen, and this is the version in the book, and Blanche is married to this king, and he's really not nice, and all of the courtiers make fun of her. She's miserable and lonely. She has lots of children, and she asks if she can go visit her sister. And so the king's like, great, yeah, I don't really like you anymore anyway. So she goes back and visits the sister. I know. And so visits the sister, and Rosalinda is married this young farmer and is like bustling with children and really happy. And Blanche is like, oh, my life is so sad. And the old lady comes back and she's like, why did you give me this gift? And the old lady said, well, your attitude wasn't very good when we first met. And so you kind of got what you deserved. And Blanche says, oh, well, I don't even want to go back to the king. I just want to stay here. And the little old lady fairy, who's a fairy, of course. And she said, well, that's good, because the king has married someone else and has said that you can't come back. And Blanche is like, oh, good. And she stays. And I was reading in it, and I was going to, usually when I read in a book, like I have the Jane Yolen book, I write. Let's see. So
I'm sorry, we're having trouble with the pitch. Oh, no, she's back.
So, like, I don't know if I'll be able to find one that I've written, but a lot of, like, I'll write in the margins questions because things don't make sense to me, you know? Like,
right.
But I didn't want to write in this book. I felt like, I don't know, the pages are really crumbly. But I thought, well, what about all these kids? Like, she had so many kids. What about these kids? And, like, wouldn't it be better? Maybe she wouldn't. So when I was practicing with Emma, I was going to stick to this version where she doesn't go back and she stays and becomes a farmer. And my daughter Emma said, I don't think Blanche deserves that. I mean, what if she really liked living in a castle? And what if, like, she could be a good queen? And I thought, that's a really interesting point. Like, maybe happiness isn't just farming, you know, like there's different ways. And so I rewrote it totally.
I got an idea.
And to make it so that she would have to kind of, anyway, so I really like, so it's the beginnings is where I got from this, but I totally diverged from the version, but I really like it.
So does she take goat's milk back with her to the king?
No. So what happens is, but there is a goat. So as a trick, the maid, which I stole from this story that is a Middle Eastern story, which I think I may have heard from Laura Sims, where this lady, where the evil sisters swap the baby of the sister that married the king, and the sisters swap the babies with, like, first a cat and then a dog, you know. So the king thinks she's a witch. Anyway, so what I had in the story, the servant swapped the baby, the prince. She just has one. And the baby, she swaps him out for a goat. And Blanche is so tired, she doesn't know. And then they swap the goats. It goes through a few different swappings, but it gets back to the little old lady. And she kind of protects the baby. Blanche wakes up, the king comes in. It's a goat. Why did you've had this little baby? It's a goat. And she's like, but when I had him, he was a baby. He looked just like you. Well, it's a goat now. And so she goes and visits. He wants to throw her in the dungeon. And she says, how about I go visit my sister? So she goes to visit, and then the fairy brings back the baby. And,
oh, nice.
And she's like, well, all I want is my baby. I'm just going to stay here. And the fairy said, no, you have a son that is meant to be a king, and you're a queen, and the people need you. And so she goes back, and the king had remarried. And there's a bit of a revolution, and she challenges the king, and so the king and his new wife leave, and Blanche is the queen, and her son becomes wonderful prince, and the story
sounds like a wee bit of Scottish history in there as well.
I know.
Just snuck that in there.
And I called it ripening plums because in the original story, she goes to get Blanche. They ask her if she'll get plums for the little old lady, and she just gets the lowest hanging plums, but they're not really ripe yet, and they're quite hard. But she doesn't want to go all the way in and get the ladder to get the nice plums, and so she just gives her the hard plums, and it's sort of doesn't want to do that either. She does it all begrudgingly, and so that kind of became this idea through the story of, and then the fairy said, and Blanche says, you did all this to me because the plums were too hard. And the fairy said, no, it's the plums.
That's what happens in fairy tales. Didn't you know?
You always give strange people in the woods the best food you can.
Right, and you milk the goat, and you take the apples off the tree, and you take the bread out of the oven. Come on.
Fairy tales have you been in, Blanche? And so, and
she blanched and said none.
That's right. And Blanche, and she's like, the plums weren't the thing that was too hard. It was your heart, and you needed to be soft before you could be queen. But now you're ready to be queen. And then I end the story with the king and his new wife run off, and they have another story. And the little old lady knows their story, and he may have learned his lesson because in the end, every plum ripens. And so that's why I'm calling it. So that's kind of the image I wanted to deal with. I
like that. That's really cool. You've done a lot of work to this story.
Yeah.
So when is the world going to hear it?
Well, I had great ambitions to try to record it today, but that didn't happen.
Okay. Sorry. Is that my fault? Is that what you would have been doing now if you hadn't been wasting time with me?
No, I wanted to get it more ready. So I'll probably early next week. So I'm trying to figure out the right balance right now of exposure, and like Kim did this great workshop on this, right? Of finding the right balance of exposure and earning, of like valuing your art, the art of like what other storytellers are putting out there, by getting reimbursed for what you're producing, while also, especially for me right now, like getting exposure is so valuable, but also like valuing what I create as an art, and not, I don't know the right balance for that, and so I'm trying a thing of doing regular news story episodes, and I put them on my Patreon site first for a couple of weeks, and then I'll move them over to my YouTube channel that's like free and no ads and stuff for another few weeks, and then I'll put them back on Patreon for good, so that I don't know if people.
No, I get it. Yeah, it's a hard line to walk. It really is, because all of us, we need to keep our exposure up, right? I mean, I talk about Papa Joe, who's a New England storyteller, an amazing guy, good friend of mine. And he does 2 shows a day, tells one story at 10 o'clock, and then he tells another story at 9 o'clock at night. And because he's doing this every single day since COVID began, and because he is a very interesting character in and of himself, he's itinerant. He lives in a van and travels all over the state, and goes up to Maine and all over the place. Well, normally he would. So like some of the local magazines and WMUR have picked him up and interviewed him, and he's got these, because he's out there and doing stuff, right? And he we all have to do that, and we all have to give some of us away, and we need to make sure that people realize that this is our livelihood, and can you throw a penny in the pot? Right?
I know. And it's like Kim made it, and also like not just respecting what I create, but respecting what you create and what other storytellers create, by not just being like like just throwing it out there for free. Also, I feel like devalues
right.
what other tellers are creating.
Right.
But I don't know. It's just, but then there's also, you want to tell stories. Like
yes,
you want to tell stories. Like, I wish I could tell this story too. I just miss live storytelling so much. And you just kind of want to put it out there, and you want as many people to see things because you just want to do it. But
yeah.
So if you figure that balance out, let me know.
I will. I will. But I think Kim will probably figure it out way before, or Donna Washington, or any of those people, before I stumble upon the secret code and the magic mix or whatever it is. Yeah.
I know. It's all
and Sarah just said it. It is totally reinventing what we're doing. Who was I talking to? Oh, Mark Binder. He called me up. No, it wasn't Mark Binder. It was somebody else. I can't remember. It's like this is the problem with COVID. My brain is just fried. I can't think of anything anymore.
My battery's dying.
Oh, we've lost a picture again. She'll be back. Oh, there she is.
I have to charge in. I just gotta.
Oh, okay. Making pennies for storyteller pots.
Alan is such a wonderful storyteller supporter too. I mean, he's a great storyteller, and then
well, I've known him as a storyteller supporter. Yes, every day is a Blur's day. It's true. Somebody asked me, "Do you know what the time is?" I was like, "Yeah, I think it's 20 plenty." Like, I have no idea.
I know it all.
It was a kid, and they just looked at me as if I was insane, which is not too far from the truth.
Are you that look?
Yes, yeah, it was definitely that look. They kind of turn away and like, okay.
Corona. Right.
Yes.
Fried brain. Tim calls it
911.
How do you pronounce that? Corona stractrid. Corona stractrid. Corona stractrid.
That's it. I'm not even going to put that up because that's just too confusing for my brain at this particular point. Yeah, fried brain indeed. Yeah, absolutely. But yes, it's interesting. It's we have to find something for teachers, for librarians, because it's not gonna stop anytime soon.
I know. What are they doing in the schools where you are? Are they going back?
So our school system. Our local school system. I can't do anything, Tim. I'm just being all flippy floppy.
I'm trying to find something I can throw in the air.
Yes. Oh, here is my bandana.
I should have brought my collection of bandanas so I can.
You should have done. So our school district, we have an option of 3 things. They are allowing 50% occupancy, no more than that. The children that have to be at school because of needs, they get an automatic in. Then there are as needed. So like parents that have to work like 3 or 4 jobs and they can't look after their kids at home, then they'll be in the schools. And then if other people want to have their kids in, then it's not a lottery, but it's kind of like, we'll look at what you have and what you don't have, what you need and what you don't need, and we'll see if we can get you in. Then for the rest of the student population, there's a choice where the kids can go in 2 days of the week, and then they'll be working remote 2 days of the week. And then there's the third option is that they just stay at home and do 4 days a week online. So yeah,
it's exhausting for teachers.
Yeah. It's one of the things that kind of like rattled my cage a bit is everyone's talking about, well, why shouldn't schools go back? And it's like, is the DMV open? Is the unemployment office open? Well, maybe the schools should wait until they're open and, use that as the litmus test. It's just, I don't know. And the kids do need educating, right? I mean, it's not like a big holiday, but it's kind of, it's a new world, and we gotta poke it and prod it and see what works, see what bursts, what abscess opens up, and
what stinks out comes out.
Yes, what makes the bad smell and what makes the good smells. Oh, that's a good smell. Let's do that for a while.
Let's keep poking that one.
Yes, exactly, right?
I know, it's all, I feel terrible for administrators. Like, there's just no way to make. I was talking to one of our principals here in town, and he said, I have half of the parents saying, if you require masks for my kids, I won't send them back. And the other half is saying, if you don't require masks for the kids, I won't send my kids, and we don't need to make this a mask show, but I just think they're in just such a difficult situation. And I have empathy for all sides.
What was that about not making it a Mars show?
Here, my Black Plague mask I just happened to have laying around. Oh. That's awesome. I wish I had a cool prop. I don't have anything cool to grab. That's just I don't have anything.
Yeah.
I don't have anything cool. Oh, well.
Yeah, it's a hard time. So what are you doing to keep yourself sane?
I've started biking, which is fun.
Oh yeah?
Yes.
I'm assuming it's a mountain bike of some sort.
Well,
if you're in
I
Montana.
it's kind of this cheapo Schwinn hybrid right now. I've told myself that when I get 200 miles on my junker bike, I'm going to buy myself like a nice gravel bike.
Okay.
I've done mountain biking, but I'm not a real speed fiend, and I don't have any adrenaline rush desire in me. So it's kind of fun. Like,
I'm happy milking goats and pigs.
Exactly. I'm like,
I'm good
on my bike.
With a little basket on the front.
That's right. I have my basket on my bike, and I put things in it.
Collect
but
flowers.
I do spinning, like in stationary bike at the gym, and I put on this like really thumping, like kind of
death
like
metal.
Macklemore,
Oh, okay.
Spice Girls, and a Gwen Stefani, just a girl, and I'm like, and I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like singing along, and I go up during the choruses, and then I go down. And I'm sure people are like, who is this psycho in the gym that's having like a dance party on this spin cycle over there? And I'm just like, all I do is win no matter what.
And then for your slowdown, is it the hills are alive with the center?
So I do love that. And I just started, I have this novel idea I'm working on. So that's a fun like project. I'm in like the early biking is, I've run for a long time. I've run a couple marathons and a couple half marathons, and like my hips and knees, it just all kind of, and biking is great because it doesn't hurt anything. Yeah. And you get
low impact. Yeah.
I'm a lot faster on a bike than I am.
Yeah.
And I want to bike all around England. So
yeah, there's a lot of hills in England.
Yeah. And a lot of rain. I worry about the weather.
You'll be all right. Just wear shorts all the time. You just dry off a lot quicker.
I was thinking I'd get a cool poncho.
Yeah, you could do, but it's kind of huge. I mean, so I lived on the East Coast, and I remember, it's one of the best climates. It's kind of Eastbourne, where I worked for a while, was known as the Florida of England. It's where all the old people went, what we used to call a blue rinse city when I was there, because all the old ladies would get the blue rinse haircut, or purple rinse haircut. Yes. It's like they all want to be Superman or something. It's crazy. What's going on? It's like it's a Twilight Zone episode. Where are all these blue haired ladies from? But yeah, there was this. So I ran the youth hostel, which is at the top of Hengist. I think it was not Hengistbury Head. It was one of the big tall cliffs areas. And we had this Dutch lady that would cycle up the hill. The first year that I was there, she cycled up the hill. The second year, she pushed a bike. The third year, she pushed a bike. We didn't see her again after that. But she was this little lady from Holland. She must have been in her 70s or 80s. And it was always like me and the staff when she got there. It was like, yay, she's here. Woo. It's always exciting. She was awesome to see. And actually, it was at Eastbourne. Was when I was working at Eastbourne when the Berlin Wall came down.
Really?
And 2 days later, we had a guy from East Germany show up at the hostel. And we had this big living room, and the chairs were always in a circle so that we could all, the guests could feel that they could talk to one another. And everyone there, we had Australians there, we had South African people there, and this one guy on his own from East Germany. Everyone's like, "Oh, so what was it like? What was it like?" And he's like, "Well, it's very different. What's it like here?" It's like. It was absolutely, it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Good days, good days.
Pete's comment there, Simon.
Easy there. What?
Talking about the old lady.
Oh yes, maybe. Sorry, Pete.
Pete's not old.
He's not.
He's what, like 30?
Yeah. Again.
Pete is so funny.
He is. So Pete,
so quick.
He is. He's sharp-witted and dry. God, I love dry humor. My brother has a very dry sense of humor, and I love it. Absolutely love it.
I've heard the Dutch are serious about biking. One of the bike tours I went on you bike out in England, and then it included Amsterdam. And my in-laws went to Amsterdam and biked all over. And oh my gosh, biking among the tulips. That's like my dream. David Hasselhoff. Hasselhoff. It's David Hasselhoff.
The way he's able to make
so weird. Morgen, because my parents were stationed in Germany, and so that's why it's Morgen. Guten Morgen. A little bit of trivia there.
Good Mo.
Now I'm Guten Mo. Guten Mo. I like that. Sounds like Guten Mo.
How are the kids dealing with the shutdown? Are they doing all right? I mean, it's summer, so they're doing things, right?
Yeah, to be honest, I know it has been terrible for a lot of things. Isaac lost his track season, and he was gunning to be state champ this year. He's a really great distance runner. He really wants to get a running scholarship, and it was really hard. I think it was the hardest on him in high school, because middle school kids and elementary school kids, their parents are still very much the center of their world.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was easier for them. But high school parents are very much the thorn in their world.
Yes, it's true. It's so true.
And all of his time with his parents and his little sisters. There were a few rough weeks, but he handled it like a champ. And honestly, it has been so wonderful for our family. My children have become better friends. They play together better. They hang out. They laugh together. It's just been really great for our family, and I've loved it. And I feel like it's this little moment in time that we've been able to just pause and be together and play games more and it's not like it was always this idyllic and we didn't just sit around reading poetry to each other or something, but
you've ruined the image I had of you.
I know. Yes, I read my children Dickens every night, Tim. I read my kids Dickens every night. Tim, I'm using a Yeti microwave, a blue microwave.
Blue microwave, yes.
I was asking what microphone. I'm using a Yeti.
And mine is an audio.
Yeah, they've done really well. My son Sorry, what kind of mic do you use? I need to get this chair.
Mine is an Audio Technica 2005. It's great for streaming. It's a USB plus XLR, and I tried recording with it, and it's bleh. But it's great for streaming. It's great for this kind of stuff. But put it into a proper sound system, it's very bleh. But you do sound good. Yeah.
Thanks. So do you.
Thank
you. I was saying something about how my kids are doing. Oh, actually, my son. So they were giving us the option. They shortened the school day, and they said you can have the option to either come to school or, please, Mom, will you read some more? They do. How did you know that? They do that right before my son kisses me on each cheek. My 16-year-old says, please, Mom, could you read me some more, please? While he's rubbing my feet.
Okay, all right.
So they gave us the option of online school or attending, and my son actually was like online, which really surprised me. But I think he's realized that he has a few friends that he hangs out with, but he just doesn't need all of it all the time. So, and it's been kind of nice to be away from some of the drama that happens in high school, and that they're requiring him to go. If he's going to do sports, he has to be in the building. So he'll be in.
That kind of sucks. I hate the way that sports are used as kind of like. There's I don't know. It wasn't when I was growing up. It wasn't like that in England at all. You know, it was like you did sports, and if you made a team, great. And if you wanted to take it like more seriously, then you get on the county team. You know. And then that would lead to a city team, and you know whether it was running or real football. Because you know when I was there, we just got basketball in our school in the last year that I was in high school, and I was like, a sport that I can play, you know, other than ping pong. I played rugby actually, but like cricket and football. Yeah, I played rugby. Yeah, and that was that sport.
That's intense.
Yeah, it is. Especially when you're playing some of the rougher schools in the school district.
Yeah. I'm really glad my son's never been exposed to rugby. He would, I mean, he's built to run. He's like, 6'2", 150 pounds. He's built.
Sounds like me.
When I saw you, I was like, Isaac? Is this
I have just realized that it is 10:17.
Oh.
And people are still here. This is so cool. All high school.
It is cool. Oh. So
Via says in Virginia, all high school sports. Oh, wow. It is sad. It is sad for the athletes. Sad. And for the seniors. Seniors are getting screwed big time. Really Last year and this year. So sad. It's like this rite of passage that they're not getting. You know,
they're trying to do sports here. In fact, they put out this whole letter of how they're going to do sports. Scott wants us to keep talking.
I was gonna keep that one secret, and then you mentioned it.
Oh, sorry. Oh. So amnesia does, but yes. And so they're doing this whole letter, and one of the things that they're doing for social distancing for cross country, so that it's safe. It says, runners are encouraged not to collapse at the finish line.
That's what they do, though.
I'm like, they don't do that, like, for fun.
Yeah, right? They sometimes vomit and collapse. It's just, my son runs. He used to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
When Isaac has given it everything, they're done. And so it's just funny. I mean, they're doing all these social distancing football, like they're sanitizing the ball between plays, and no handshakes, or the coin flip is like just with the referee, and all of these things to be really careful. But then they're smashing their bodies into each other.
Yeah.
And so it's like, but I get it. It is important for kids. And I mean, my son, without cross country, it is huge in his life. And so I'm grateful. It's just like, I don't know how this is all going to work. No,
Yeah.
and nobody knows, I think.
Did you do sports at school?
Me?
Yeah.
I did a little.
As soon as I asked that question, I was like, no, she doesn't. No, she doesn't.
I swam, which I really enjoyed.
Swimming's great, yeah.
I don't do team sports well because I feel like everything is my fault. Like, I feel like even if I was nowhere near the ball, I'm like, and like when I played volleyball and they messed up over there, and I was like, I'm sure that was something I did.
Your psychic energy messed them up.
I'd be on the bench and I'd be like, that was probably my fault. and I played softball, and that is my worst. Like batting, that's my worst nightmare. Everybody staring at me, the whole team literally depending on me in that moment to hit a ball. I like hyperventilated. I mean, put me in front of people to tell a story, but if I had to like hit a ball in front of people. So that's why swimming and running are really wonderful, because it's just me and the clock. I don't let anybody down. I wish I didn't discover running until I was in my 30s.
Oh, really?
I discovered it earlier.
God,
so
I used to
vicariously through my children.
So I grew up in Worcester, in England, and we lived.
How do you spell that?
Worcester. 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 That's how you pronounce it. Lots of silentness, like Gloucester. Same thing.
What letters?
Yeah. So what I discovered was I used to run cross country. I loved it, and I liked to dive. I wasn't very good at it, but I loved doing it. And rugby, that was my thing. I joined the county team for a while, and then they said, "We need you to commit more." And I was like, "Rugby or rock and roll band?" Because I was in the rock and roll band at that time. So I went with the rock and roll band. Probably should have stayed with the rugby, but for all it did for me.
It's some really interesting way to combine those two things together. Rugby.
Well, I did, because the way that I played rugby was the same way that I played the drums.
Did you hit each other as you were in the rock? And did you like hit each other like you were in the scrum? Isn't that what it's called?
In the scrum, yeah. I was a hooker. I played hooker once. This was one of the really. Yes, exactly like that. So the hooker, when you go into a scrum, right? There's a guy who is the hooker, and they have to hook the ball back. So they're pushing the ball, and they got to hook it back to the guy who's at the back, who's going to pass it out, right? And so our hooker was sick, and I was playing in this game, and it was one of those really rough games. Like one of the kids had a bite taken out of his thigh because they were rough tackling. Another kid had his earlobe bitten, and I'm in this scrum, right? And I'm looking at this guy who's the other hooker, and he's cursing me out something horrible, right? And I don't think I had seen Slapstick, like the weekend before or something like that, Paul Newman movie.
Oh, okay.
And there's this scene. It's about this ice hockey team, and it's all about the fighting. And this one guy gets really annoyed with it, and so he starts doing this striptease on the ice, throwing his gloves off, and then his shirt comes off, and they're all like, "What is going on?" So I've got this movie still running right through my head, and I'm like in this thing, and this guy's like being so mean and horrible, and I look up at him and I blow him a kiss. I'm like this, just as the ball comes in, and he pulls back. And like pulls us over the ball, which is what we want. But then he's like after me for the rest of the game, and I was pulled out of the game because our coach was like, "He's going to kill you if he gets his hands on you."
Cheeky devil.
I was a cheeky devil. I was. Well, I was. Yes, was. And by that I mean I am, and always have been, and probably always will be.
I certainly hope so.
I pledge to myself that I shall always.
I solemnly swear I am up to no good.
Yes.
I'm listening to Harry Potter right now again. I was listening to it on the RV drive. And so now I'm like, can't stop, even though I'm not driving across the country anymore. I just love listening to them so much. We've listened to them.
Jim Dale. So I grew up watching Jim Dale. There were these series of movies called the Carry On films, which were very poor taste, very funny. for the time, 1960s, like sexual innuendos up the gazoo movies, and Jim Dale was in a few of them.
Huh.
And there was also this huge movie when I was a kid, which is called Digby, the Biggest Dog in the World, and Jim Dale was in that, and he was like that. He was like this instant star with that movie. It was like so big, and Jim Dale just was like in a whole bunch of other stuff, and
he's in Pete's Dragon,
right, and
which I've never known.
Yeah, and then he kind of went quiet for a while, and then he started doing these books, and all of a sudden, like Monty Python. Like what's like Monty Python, Sarah?
I think that show you were describing. Whoa! I just saw striptease on that.
I know.
Like, wait a minute! Whoa! Oh.
Let me just throw my. Oh dear. I should probably go to bed before I get myself into trouble.
That show you were describing that Jim Dale was in. It sounded kind of
like the Carry On. No, well, Monty Python was very cerebral, and the Carry On movies were very not. You know, like there was there was this toilet manufacturing company, and so well, we need to make sure it's windproof. Here's our wind checking situation, and this guy would be sitting on the toilets farting. You know, it was those sorts of jokes. You know, it was like very, you know, some of it was poor taste. But for the time, it wasn't. It was kind of hip and cool. But when you look back on it, it's like, you know, can't make films like that anymore.
They're in poor taste in different ways, I guess. So
yeah,
that I grew up in a home, which you may remember from when I told the story about my mom in Florida. Like I grew up in a home where no bodily functions were discussed. And so I never say the word fart. It's like a word. And my son loves that word and loves to say it and loves to try to get me to say it all the time. And I was reading out loud to have you read the book, The Inquisitor's Tale? Oh, have you read that book?
I think I have it, but I haven't read it. No.
Oh.
I'm looking around as if I have it sitting here. I'm in the garage. It's like it's not going to be down here. It's like, where is that book?
I have it in my
Let me just pull it out of my. There it is. Oh no, it was in my bandana.
I keep lots of things in my bandana. I think you'd really like it. I was reading it out loud to Damon on a road trip, and there's this whole section where they have a battle with this huge dragon. And I had to
what was that? What was that, Mo? A what dragon? Farting dragon? Put a lot of makeup on and wear fishnets?
It was a go-karting dragon.
Okay, all right.
Go-karts. Okay. And so I had to read it, and I couldn't and so I just read the whole chapter, and it felt so wrong, but also this is crazy. I'm going great. This is so exciting. And I told Isaac, I'm like,
I said it.
I know. And I said, Isaac, you missed it. I said that word 45 times. And he was like, Robin Schulte. Robin.
We love you, Robin.
Mwah.
See you. Good night.
Good night.
Sweet dreams. Make sure the bed bugs don't bite.
Did you see? Oh.
Yeah, I'm going to put it up. Mo should totally write a tale where she MacGyvers her way through the story by taking things out of her bandanas. Yes, exactly.
That's a good idea, Alan.
It is a good
tall
idea.
tales or something. So are you going to do a tall tale? Do you do tall tales and liar's tales, or do you? I mean, you mostly just do.
I do folk and fairy tales. So I had a school that said to me once, could you do a series of tall tales? And I was like, sure. So I read a whole bunch of tall tales, and I think it's kind of like reading 1 million comics in a week. And it burnt me out a little bit on those kinds of things. But I did find a a few stories, and I do like telling them, but there's basically 2 stories that I now tell, which are tall tales, and they're well-known stories. You know, it's just the beginning is like totally personal and totally true, and then like then it just people are like, oh, I know that story.
Yeah.
You know, it's the frog and the snake.
I want to try. It's not ever like where it's and I haven't done a lot of tall tales actually. I mean, I don't like the kind of Alan suggested, you know, the kind of like Bill Lepp tales and Bill, you know, where it's
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know, it's something I want to try, but I can't quite wrap my mind around even how to write the draft of it. Like, I don't know. Sometimes
Yeah. Well, I look at Paul Strickland and Jeff Doyle, right?
Yeah.
And they just have these. It's like you have to empty your head completely of everything else, and then throw something in, and see what it sparks off, and
then run with it.
And then run with it, yeah. And it's, you know.
Yeah. Well, I've wanted to do a tall tale about Bigfoot because there are like believers around here.
So can I tell you something?
Yes.
So my cousin, she's married to a Wasco medicine man, and I told a Sasquatch story, a tall Sasquatch story, and they asked me to not do that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because there's a lot of other stuff that's tied to it. So I immediately dropped that story, and I've never told another Sasquatch story, even though it was really good. That was one of the 3 stories that I told, and that's why I only tell 2 now because of that.
I think I don't know a lot about it. I just had this idea, and then I've had this novel that I have that I'm really excited about, that I'm in the early stages of. The question that came into my mind. So I read this book, the Book of Lost Friends, which is about by Lisa Wingate, and it's about the slaves right at the end of the Civil War. The enslaved families were being just split up and sold in all of these different directions. And so the Book of Lost Friends was people would send in these letters to this Christian newspaper saying, my name is Alice, I was sold on this date, and my family went here and here trying to find each other. And so right after I finished this book, I went back to North Carolina, and we were where I grew up, and we were driving through on our way to the Outer Banks and passing like the woods and the marshes and the tobacco fields. Like all I had in my mind, I were seeing this book and thinking about, you know, slaves trying to hide and escape. And I had this idea and this image in my mind of, I wonder what if a slave like heard these folk tales or stories of Sasquatch and decided to escape to the West by disguising themselves as a Sasquatch, and like, you know, and I thought that's it. And then how would they learn the stories? And so I had this idea of them meeting up on the Underground Railroad and like swapping folk tales with a family that's on the Underground Railroad, and they tell them stories of Sasquatch, and the young enslaved girl tells like African folk tales and slave tales, and they like connect through these stories, and then she wanders west. Anyway, so that was my idea, but I just have a hard time thinking of ideas with tall tale things. Even that turned into something totally different. So maybe I just have to accept I'm not a tall tale storyteller.
Yeah, and that's okay too, right? I mean, you know, one of the things that Jeff said, I think it was when we were in Florida, is that each one of us are very different storytellers, and so in that space that we had our audience, and everyone in that audience got to hear their storyteller telling stories, whether it was Jeff, whether it was you, whether it was Diane, whether it was me, whether it was Pete, because, you know, and there's obviously a lot of crossover as well.
Right.
But it's, you know, we do need to talk to to ourselves and be authentic to ourselves, I think, and what comes out naturally. And I think that forcing that kind of stuff, I mean, it's good to push ourselves and
Right.
experiment, like I did. I was looking at all those different stories, and it just it didn't feel authentic to me, apart from these, the 3 became 2 stories. Because it's not, I don't know. I can't say it's not where my heart is, but it's not for me, it's not right. It's not my thing. And, Bill Lepp does it so well. Paul Strickland does it so well. Andy does it so well,
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. And I think I'm getting better at, when I first started, like I said, I saw Laura, and then I went to this festival and I saw Tim, and then I got exposed to like Lynn, and then I got exposed to like Bill and Kip, and for a long time it was like I was trying to sound. I thought, oh, this is how my story should sound. I should sound like this, or whatever teller. I was trying to do so many things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm getting more comfortable with the fact of like, yeah, that's like not my pocket, and I don't have to.
Yeah.
I can try it. Like it,
Yes.
It might be fun to
Right.
try. Like if I went to that Oregon festival, I'm like, I might throw my hat in the ring, try to do a tall tale, but I don't have to be Ann Rutherford who wins, like, because that's not who I am. And
right.
And I've found that I really love, which I didn't put together until Florida, but I love personal narrative and folktale marriage. Like I just really love it.
You nailed it. It was awesome what you did. It really was. It was so good.
Thank you.
The way that you wrapped those stories up,
I enjoy
about
that.
your mother and then the crows.
Yeah. And I'd never done that before. Like it was I honestly had no idea what I was going to do on that festival until like I was on the plane and I was flying.
You shouldn't say that in case people from Jonesboro listening in, or Timpanogos.
Because I had so many stories in my mind.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, I saw Carmen one time at Timpanogos, and she was like, we don't know what we're going to tell until we get up on stage, right? Mm-hmm. But I didn't, and then suddenly it just like, this is, because I had all of these different stories that I had worked on, and I was like, but I don't want to just tell this one or just, and suddenly I thought, what? And it just like paired in my mind, and I thought, ooh, that would be cool.
Yeah.
If I like mapped them and like, put them together, and it worked. So.
Yeah. No, you do a really good job. I love what you do, as you know.
Thanks. I love what you do.
Yeah. Anybody can do it. You got a real talent. I just riff off the old stuff.
No, I feel like, and Damon and I have said this, and that was Damon's first storytelling festival, Damon, my husband. And you know that, but I don't know if they do.
Yeah. Tony Toledo might not know it.
Any storytelling thing. And it was so fun for him to see such a variety of colors. Florida does such a good job at that, just getting such a variety. But one of the things that we both just love about you is you just are having such a wonderful time. Like you're just telling, and it's hard you can't not enjoy it because you're enjoying it so much, and it's just ebullient. Is that the right word?
As long as it's not soporific, I'm okay.
And it's so many stories. It's just, anyway, it's great.
I appreciate that. I do. I mean, I love them. I love the stories that I tell, and they're, some of them, like when I had, changed my set for those kids because they were getting bored, and it's like they're here. We're celebrating them. Let's give them something,
Yeah.
Rachel just said, "Can you spell the words you just said?" And I was thinking the same thing.
Ebullient?
No, don't look.
I think it's ebullient. I don't know if it has one B or two B's. EBU. Oh, yeah, spell it for it. That's what I was going to say.
You.
I think it's one B. No, I didn't know if it was 1B or 2, but the rest I did get right. But I just feel like, that's a 10-cent word. I should get all those.
I think that's a $1 word. That is ebullient.
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 Yeah,
Ebullient.
that's another good one.
Ebullient. That's 4 syllables. That's a lot of syllables, dear.
Ebullient. Ebullient. Soporific. That's another good one.
It is.
Gobsmacked.
That's one of my favorite words. Yeah. I do use that word a lot. And brilliant. I do use that word.
What's the gollywobbles? I love that word. When he says it in Harry, it's in the third one, right? That name gives me the gollywobbles. Gives me the gollywobbles.
Gollywobbles? Isn't it collywobbles?
I thought it was well, I mean, you would know more, but I thought it was golly. Is it not G? Is it C?
I don't know. It could be a regional thing.
Golly.
Or it could be that this is the American version. Let's use that word instead. They'll never know. Like a phone booth. When they started putting in word, it's like, it's not a phone booth. A phone booth is totally different to a phone box. And you think that these kids can't figure out what a phone box is? It's a box about this big with a... Well, that's what they did in the American translations. The first American translations of Harry Potter, when they talked about a phone box, they called it a phone booth.
Because that's what the big build, the thing where a payphone is, a phone booth.
Right, but some of those phone booths are just like these little coverall things, right, with a phone in the middle of it, like a little...
Oh, yeah, I guess you're right.
Right? But a telephone box is a telephone box. And yeah, it is collywobbles. There you go.
Collywobbles.
Collywobbles. Yeah, yes, intense anxiety of nervousness, especially with the stomach and queasiness. Janice, you're a rock star. We knew that already.
Yeah, the collywobbles.
See, there's so many words that StreamYard are like, I can't write all that.
The collywobbles. Wow, I always thought it was golly. The gollywobbles.
No, collywobbles. Yeah, because my brother was called Colin, so
he was the Colin.
So it was the collywobbles.
Collywobbles. That's a good nickname for Colin. Collywobbles. I have a little friend of our family. His name is Colin. I'm going to start calling him Collywobbles.
He might not like that.
And he'll think it's so cool.
Unless he's a big lad. Unless he's a big lad, and then he might be offended.
The Collywobbles, so I can understand everyone. That's right. Read your Bible, kids, so you can understand Harry Potter.
Especially the King James, because it's a special edition.
And it's the Philosopher's Stone, right? In the English version.
Yes.
One is.
Yeah.
I'm reading it in Spanish because one of my New Year's resurrection.
Well, one of my resurrections. When I was brought up from the dead.
Was to read Harry Potter in Spanish. And it's La Piedra Filosofal, the Philosopher's Stone in English. Such a show. Who are you talking about?
You. Oh, I'm listening to it in Spanish. Next week it'll be the Russian version. just to get my feet wet a little. Just to dabble.
I'm not doing it very quickly, I might add. It's August. My goal was to finish it, and I think I'm on chapter 3 because it's slow going.
Oh, you should try reading the Mahabharata.
Oh, yeah. Talk about show off.
Yeah. Well, at least it's in English.
Yeah, you're going to get struck by lightning. Tim thinks we're going to get struck by lightning. I think that God has an excellent sense of humor.
I hope so.
I certainly hope so.
Well, most of the Monty Python team is still alive, and if that's not proof of it,
I've only
after the life of Brian.
So I still have watched about 4 minutes of the life of Brian. I started it because someone's like, "Oh yeah," I was in a play with somebody, and they're like, "Oh, you've got to watch the life of Brian," and I started it, and I was like, "Oh," so it was a little bit too pushed that a little too far.
Yeah, I totally agree. So Robin Williams did this great skit when he's like God and Darwin got stoned one day, and they're like, "Let's make a mammal." Yeah, except it's gonna lay eggs. And And we'll give it a beak. No, a bill. We'll give it a bill and a little.
Oh god.
And it'll be covered in fur. Like platypus.
I've been getting a lot of reading done, which has been nice for this coronavirus thing. And I read another book recently called Becoming Mrs. Lewis.
Oh, yes. C.S. Lewis's wife.
Yes. And it was so lovely. And and it's about both of them. Both of them had been atheists and then became Christians, and then much later in life met and became pen pals. Anyway, but it really made me want to go to Oxford.
Yes,
because
I mean they had that whole club, like Tolkien and C.S. Lewis and
Inklings, right?
I can't remember. Yeah,
Inklings. Yeah, and apparently Jay, our Tolkien did not like her. The
Oh, it's kind of a Yoko Ono thing.
Yeah. Well, he was very traditional, and she was divorced. Joy Gresham was divorced and was this loud American.
Some of us like loud Americans.
Obviously, we're going on almost 2 hours here.
I know, right? We're gonna have to close this up. My wife would be like, "This is like, who is this woman?"
My son would tell me how he would hear me laughing. He would be in the classroom when I was the librarian, and he'd be like, cross the building upstairs, and they'd hear me, and all the kids would look at him and be like, "Oh, your mom thinks something's funny." My laugh was and when I was in high school, I tried to change my laugh.
Oh, why would? Yeah, okay.
I felt like because people would talk about how loud it was, and so I tried to like practice laughing like a normal person. So I'd be like, I had to like hold it down a little bit, like, oh, that's so funny. But it just didn't. I wasn't laughing, and so I'm like, well, forget it. I'm just gonna let fly. So I have this.
Yeah, you should. Yeah. You got a great laugh. I love it.
It's really.
I really do. And as we're talking about laughs, let's close the show because it's
okay.
11:45 for me. I know it's still early for some of you out there.
I know.
Further across the country, you're a little bit slower than the rest of us.
Thanks for letting me come.
Oh, it's okay. Anytime.
I'm trying to keep up. I did use the word ebullient.
I know. I'm gonna have to go and look it up now.
I learned that word all day. I've been thinking I'm gonna use it.
I was reading. Okay, I'm not bragging again, but the Panchachantra. And this is a book with I think like all of the tales instead of like just some of them. And I was reading this introduction, and I've never gone through an introduction and seen so many words. I'm like, I kind of know what this means because of the context in which it is, but I should really look it up. But I haven't. But I'm going to go back at some point. I'm going to go back and look up those words and try and use them because they were such interesting words. I love words. Anyway, words. So thank you all for being here, Mo. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thanks for asking.
What's your website? Hang on. What your website? What is it?
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Rachel. Everybody. Thanks.
Yeah.
My website, it's moreynolds.com. M-O Reynolds .com. MOREYNOLDS.
That.
Oh, you forgot the D in there. Mo Reynolds.
Hang on. Reynolds. It's like the French car, only better.
Mo Reynolds. I am Mo Reynolds. Oh, that does sound kind of.
Mo Renault.
Renault. Mo Renault.
There it is. There you go. MoReynolds.com. And she has no CD. You have CDs. You don't have CDs.
No, I don't. I have a Patreon site, so that's cool.
Go sponsor. We're hungry people. Don't make us eat each other. That would be bad for business. Yeah, some of us are at least. Yeah.
Hey, I am.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
I've made the switch.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for coming. Mo, yes. You're brilliant.
Thanks, Simon. You're the best. Thanks
no, you're the best.
Everybody, you're all.
Thank you.
Wonderful.